Hello, comic book fans, collectors, and newbies alike. You have stumbled onto the First Issue Club, your weekly comic book podcast who, just like Sue Storm, love a good read. We're going to do what we always do and onboard you onto some new comic books that come out each and every week. There's another opportunity to cannonball in to a brand new story, a brand new opportunity to escape into a world of fantasy. And boy, do we need our escapism now more than ever. This podcast is co-hosted by a man across from me on my video screen. Could you introduce yourself, buddy?
Hi, my name is Greg, and I've been here the whole time. I know that tagline's been taken already, but not in this context, so please don't sue me. Hey, everyone. It's good to be back since last week when I was here. Anyway, I'm excited, Mike. Can you feel it? Can you hear it in my voice? Just it's spilling out into the microphones. Comic books. What are they?
Yeah, right. We'll get down to it. We're going to answer the age-old question. What are these things? I know I have a lot of them, but I've never quite been able to put my finger on it.
You ever opened one of these things? Huh?
Why should you care? We think they're good, and we think that you'll think they're good. You just got to find the right one, right?
True.
This comic book podcast is lovingly brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, specifically their Space Camper IPA line of beers. A wonderful hoppy beer, a fantastic beverage with a ton of different varietals that meet you wherever your hop mood may be taking you on any given day. Get a variety pack, get the classic, get a particular one you like. You're going to have them, and you're going to have a great old time drinking the Boulevard Space Camper Cosmic IPA.
And that's a guarantee.
That's right. That's literal ad copy. It sounded like I was bumbling and stumbling through that, but no, I was reading verbatim. They call me old verbatim Mike over here.
They gave us pretty hard directions on just like, can you pause here and then say this word twice?
Stammer a bit on this one.
Yeah.
I'm still reading from a script, if you can believe it or not.
It's
all
huge.
Of this is written down. Yeah. I wake up in the morning and roll over, and there's a script on my table, and it says, interior, morning. Mike rolls over and grabs his trusty old script, and that's how I start my day every day.
They take these things very seriously.
Living at the behest of Boulevard's script writers. All right. You do the tagline, Greg. We need our...
Yum, yum, give me some. Down to my tum-tum. Space Camper IPA. It's not a beer. It's a journey.
Thank you. Okay. We have done a couple episodes already today. Unbeknownst to you, we've recorded 2 other episodes, and we've covered some of the Exquisite Corpses news on Podsquisite Corpse Cast. We covered some of the Comics Pro DC announcements on our Patreon episode, as well as talked about Nintendo consoles and trips to vintage stores to pick up comic books. So check out those feeds if you want some of that. Is there any other news we want to get into today, Greg, or do we want to get right to comic book goodness?
You know what? We're going to call an audible today, folks. We're going to go right to comics because we stuck the news in auxiliary places. We're going to go right to the goods, give you right down the line, shoot you straight, give you what you came for, comic books.
All right. A real classic fic episode here. No BS, just rich with comics. And a lot of comics there were, just like any other week. I think between Greg and I, we've read, at least 6 first issues, I think. So let's get right into it. The first comic on my list is Andrew MacLean's Death Fight Forever. If you don't know Andrew MacLean, he is responsible for a comic called Headlopper, which is a really fun, cartoony adventure that feels like half fun kids cartoon and half ultra gore, violent barbarian type.
Conan on acid.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And I do think that this book follows a little bit in that trend of vibe anyway. That I'll show the cover here for our video watchers, that you can see this looks like peeled right out of 90s action move, or 80s probably rather, action movies.
Yeah, that's 80s.
Video games, thriller, horror stories. But this takes a lot of tropes from like 80s kids cartoons, some Thundercats, He-Man, G.I. Joe, and then throws in the reality of a gritty thriller from the same era where you've got characters that are like doing lines and taking lives and cussing a storm, but you've got your like guys with like a human body and like a cobra head, and another guy who's just like an anthropomorphic cheetah. It reminded me a lot of Copra by Michael Fife, which is just like a hell of a, like, it's like a hella punk rock, indie fun G.I. Joe type of comic book. So if any of that sounds like your cup of tea, or if you grew up loving 80s cartoons and some of those like fun Big Trouble in Little China type of movies, like I think that this is just like oozing with nostalgia. I would say, maybe don't expect like a grand sweeping story that's going to be ongoing with like tons and tons of depth. It is more just like a fun punk rock experience with like a lot of interesting character design and outrageous visuals. So fun one, easy to recommend if that sounds like it's up your alley.
The tagline, doing lines and taking lives, is maybe the hardest thing I've ever heard you say in the decade-long friendship that we've had. That is the most sinister Florida man thing I could possibly imagine.
I just said that too. That's not on the comic.
I know. That's how corrupted you are from this fucking issue.
All right. So copyright First Issue Club, doing lines and taking lives, and we'll work on our comic book.
Well, within the same vein as that book, another punk rock, brutal interpretation of the world around us is a book that I read from Dynamite called The Muppets Noir, #1.
Sure.
Roger Langridge. Roger Langridge also did the original Muppet line from Boom Studios 15 years ago.
Okay.
Maybe not that long. 10, who knows? And so I read it already, the original Muppet stuff, because I'm a huge Muppets fan. Muppets are having a great resurgence right now with the new Disney Plus variety show that they dropped, courtesy of Seth Rogen. We have a Muppet show on our Patreon called No Strings Attached with Greg and Doug, where we talk about the Muppets in comic book form. So if you're looking for a verifiable expert on Muppets and comic books, you found it, babe.
Hey.
And you're probably wondering already, is this worth my time? Yes, it is. Of course it is. This is given the love and attention that only a Muppet fan can garnish. And it's set in a new noir type setting. We open with Kermit frantically stressed about a new Muppet production for that day. Hilarity ensues. He is hit on the head with a brick, and he is in this like lucid dream state now where he is a PI.
Yeah. He looks so good on the B cover, I think it is.
Oh, it's so sick.
Got him like looking like Humphrey Bogart with a with like a pen and a pad.
His detective name is Finn Minnow, which is just fantastic.
All right, gotta love that.
as far as the story goes, I mean, if you are even kind of remotely in tune to what a noir story is, a trench coat PI, a dame walking into his office with nothing but trouble, a lot of mist, a lot of black and white, then you will be very comfortable with this book. It is basically the Muppets inserted into like a Maltese Falcon situation. It's very fun. It's very well written. It's not like completely zany or like kind of like too annoying to read. So if you are interested in the Muppets, you're gonna love this book. If you like noir stories, you are more than likely gonna like this book. And if you don't know what a Muppet is, check it out anyway. It's still fun.
I really like on the covers of these anyway. I don't know if the interiors are like this, but all the characters look kind of dead-eyed in an inanimate object kind of way. That is like they still look like the Muppets. They don't look like, it's not like they've come to life and are like weird cartoon versions of the Muppets. They're kind of portrayed as like these are puppets like playing a playing
there
through
is
a story.
Some stiffness and rigidity to their cartoon form where you're just like, this is comforting. Like I enjoy what I'm seeing.
Yeah. It gets a little too weird when they get stretched outside of the box that you expect them to be in. This is like, I heard someone the other day talking about the like Simpsons ride at Universal Studios.
Sure.
And how it uses like 3D modeling to like make the characters and the world around you. And it just doesn't feel right because of how you're used to seeing like the Simpsons in 2D, that there's this like gross, uncanny valley, like dated feel to all of it. But yeah, I think they've nailed the kind of execution of this, which is tough to draw Muppets and have them feel like puppets still instead of just cartoon characters.
Well, then you'll love this comic, Mike.
All right.
It's exactly that.
So, niche praise. Niche and specific praise for a niche and specific comic book. How about it? All right, let's keep the train moving. Did you read End of Life by Kyle Starks?
No. I read 2 other books aside from that.
This is, as far as I know, like the second new title on Vertigo since they've kind of relaunched.
Correct.
And the one that came out a week or two ago, Bleeding Hearts, really, really popped off. So glad to see that Vertigo's in a good place, getting good creatives, doing cool, fun stories as part of the DC umbrella. And Kyle Starks, we love, has written so many fun comics. I think everyone on the podcast, Vargas included, has an art commission from Kyle Starks hanging in their office. So we're believers and lifers here. This comic follows a bunch of like irredeemables who are intermixed in a kind of like crime plot, and they're all trying to kill each other. There's like an Illuminati type of cabal that is in this. There's an abusive father. There's for hire killer. There's murderers, criminals, and my favorite of all this, which is like this comic really sticks the landing for me in this reveal that there is a small town where a cartoon creator built a theme park, like in his small town that he grew up in, which is like upended the entire town's economy, right? Like everything is based on people coming in and out of this town for, imagine like you made Rocky and Bullwinkle, or you made The Simpsons, but like you've made the Simpsons theme park in the actual Springfield town that you grew up in. So everything relies on this. Well, that guy ends up being a shithead and gets canceled. And so now this economy that is built around this thing, like, and it takes up so much real estate with this theme park and all the gas stations and restaurants in the town being themed after this thing are now like worthless, right? Like nobody wants to support this guy. It's starting to become like a ghost town. But he kind of persists and lingers around this like wasteland of an homage to his one-time success, and has kind of become like the Don of this town, and leads all the dirtbags and like gangs to try to survive and keep him like king of his little shithill that he's built to like as a monument to himself in this town. And that was just like so fun and interesting. I don't think I've ever read anything that quite had that angle in it. I will say, in the middle of all of these like shitheads that are coming after each other, there is one person who appears to be like the bright light in the middle of this, and it is an old high school crush of one of our shitbag murderer killer characters. And there's we don't really know yet what role she's going to play in this, but does she redeem our one of our dirtbag characters like later in the story and help him get his moral compass back? Or, does that character end up getting fridged like and that becomes his motivation? Like we just can't say yet. But she's there, and an interesting crux in the story along with all the other pieces. We were talking about this book in the Discord and had a conversation about how everyone in the comic was so shitty and irredeemable that it was a hard read for some people. But we also talked about how with a writer like this that we really know and love, that there's probably going to be some comeuppance here that'll make it worth sitting through how terrible all these people were, because we'll probably get some sort of revenge fantasy or some sort of due at the end of this. I'll say the same thing Kyle Starks had as another comic book, an indie that's out right now, and the first issue is very violent and hard to read and has a lot of abuse in it. And then the second issue, becomes your kind of like Kill Bill, this person coming back to like take vengeance in a very like fulfilling way. And again, we're in a world where a lot of people are really like angry about a lot of things and a lot of injustices, and I think we're seeing more art like this as a reaction to the world around us lately. But we've got your happy, fun fantasy escapism comics, and then you've got your violent thriller revenge fantasy comics, and this is one of those. So if you're looking for that specific thing, that's, I think, the angle you're going at here. Very violent. So you've been warned.
Really excited about that book. I want to check it out. So I'm glad it sounds awesome.
Back to you, Greg. Do you have another one?
Back to me. I read from Image Comics.
Non-stop with the comics.
Rapid fire. White Sky #1 from William Harms and Lee Luridge and JP Mavina. This book.
Oh, did you get your hands on a physical copy of this?
Hell no, I did not. So last
people were selling it for like $40, like right away.
And herein lies my review. Last week or 2 weeks ago, Dorks nuked the indie scene.
And not
waste.
Not the people Dorks, but there's a comic called D'_ORC. Just to be clear.
So the book D'_ORC enraged regular dorks, DORKS, into a spending frenzy. And so what has happened is residual FOMO has leaked into other Image #1s.
Yeah, what's the indie book that's coming out that's new that's going to be the next one of these?
Correct. And I believe White Sky had been wrapped up within that fervor.
Mm-hmm.
This is not new. This happens all the time. If there is a hot comic on an indie publisher, the books that are in the surrounding week schedule also kind of pop off a little bit. This book is essentially like a Walking Dead meets Lovecraftian weirdness.
Yeah.
Our world's been laid to waste. It's a father and daughter trying to navigate the wasteland. There's marauders, there's bandits, and there are these weird, otherworldly cloaked things that are roaming the earth that we are desperately trying to avoid because they'll kill you. I'll be honest. They'll end you.
I'll say, like, after having read a little bit of the synopsis of that, I want to say I skipped this on pre-orders because I was like, it kind of sounds like you were saying, like The Last of Us, Walking Dead, a couple things that like have been pretty well trod recently. And I was like, do I want, like, you only have so much money to spend. I'd like to support as many independent comics as possible. But it was one of the ones I skipped, I think, because of that. But now it's popping off. That's the risk you take by not spending all your money all the time.
Well, so I'll tell you, it's reminiscent, but not similar to other dystopian wasteland stories. I think what really helped this book is 2 weeks beforehand, the Orcs premiered and went crazy, and so all Image books are kind of getting a weird spotlight on them now, and so I think that has helped with the popularity of White Sky. And I don't mean that in a derogatory sense. Like this book,
to say like, oh, it's not stolen valor of
correct. This book,
we're happy for this to happen. I think this is a good thing when people get so excited about a comic that they read other comic books and go to the store and don't want to miss out on the next cool independent thing. Like that rules. The thing that sucks is when a guy goes to a comic shop and is like, I'm buying 10 of the next independent #1 issue that comes out so I can sell them on eBay and like don't even give a shit about reading it, right? Like that blows because less people who would pre-order a second issue are never going to be able to read the first issue because they're being bought up by resellers. Like you want the balance of this to meet somewhere in the middle of hype.
And that's very true. And this book does have its own sturdy legs to stand on story-wise.
Yeah.
I think the only critique I have for it is this may have benefited from being a double issue or, maybe a little bigger than it was. It seemed very face value. You have the normal hook at the end for, the bait to get you to the second issue. I would have loved to seen it explored and expanded a little more within the first issue.
Yeah.
All that to say, very cool that it's getting some extra attention because of other books. Who's to say it wouldn't have gotten it otherwise? But very fun time to be an Image fan.
Hell yeah. Love it.
Yeah.
Okay. The next book I read. Before I say what the book is, I'm going to tell you the author is Hannah Rose May, who is an actress. And a lot of times when you have sometimes when you have like people who are like famous or in the acting industry write a comic book, you're a little like, oh, like it's somebody who like doesn't totally understand the medium coming in and like doing a thing just to get a movie made or something. Hannah Rose May hits dingers. I've loved the comics that I've read from her so far, and is like somebody who is just like understands the medium well enough to tell like fantastic stories. So if you read Rogues Gallery, which was such a fun book and had a great actress's perspective or like, toxic fandom in the comic book world, like what a great perspective and what a crazy story. And an amazing debut for this writer. And then Exorcism at 1600 Pen was another of hers that was such a killer comic book.
Yeah.
And I think is getting like a follow-up series now at like other locations. So I'm excited to see where that goes. So she's written a couple original stories now, but this is the first one that is of an existing property, and it's out on IDW Dark, their horror imprint, and it's called Smile for the Camera, which is based on the movie franchise Smile, which has like 2 series now. You might remember, if you haven't seen them yet, you might remember like trailers from the second one had like a pop star where they did like the same situation where like all these creepy people who are smiling at you keep showing up and they're just plucking this like smile entity that stalks people and putting it in different scenarios throughout different points in time. And this one takes place in 2005 and focuses on the modeling industry, which again, if you haven't watched any of these movies, they are kind of just like fun, silly, over the top, schlocky horror movies to some extent. But the metaphor here being a smile is that you're masking pain or hiding mental health issues. And it's interesting to see, the different scenarios they put this smile entity in and shining light on different industries or different places of pressure where people live in these high stress scenarios or get taken advantage of and live unhealthfully. And again, this particular writer is well poised, being like kind of an actor and celebrity already, to write this comic in particular. So it seems to me that the metaphor plays better in this comic book than it did in any of the movies, which just ultimately feel more like jump scare, kind of like an abstract creepy thing is following these people around, and what's going on. That the comic feels like there's a little more depth there. So props to this author. And I'm quickly becoming somebody that I'm just like auto pulling anything she writes.
I think we talked about on a earlier episode how like this book, and I think there's a Quiet Place comic book coming out, and the Twilight Zone comic books that are coming out right now. It's fun.
They just did a 30 Days of Night comic book.
Yeah, it's fun seeing those those movies being explored in another format, and it's a fun experiment to see if they flourish or not. And for the most part, they've been doing really well, and the quality has been just kind of top notch in a way that you're not really expecting for a tie-in to a slasher movie.
Well, yeah, and I think too that there's like you've got these movies that are like Sleepy Hollow that did well and had a big fan base, but they'd rather reboot the thing now than do a sequel, even though the sequel might kick ass that somebody wrote or planned for, that it's not going to get greenlit. And so more of these writers or companies are taking their ideas to these publishers and saying, well, we're actually going to follow up on the movie universe version of Sleepy Hollow and give you what the subsequent story would have been like 10 or 15 years later. And that's cool that like, you think about all these people who write these like rad scripts for things, but now movies need to make like $200 million, $400 million for these companies to like make them.
Anyway.
And and that's like not possible for overwhelming majority of movies. So we'll take them. We'll take them in comic book form. This is
give them to us. We'll treat them well.
Yeah, exactly right. So when Event Horizon comes out, and it's like that would be something cool to see a sequel for, but we've got an awesome writer doing prequels and sequels to it, like that rocks. I'll support those things.
I got one final review.
Okay. And I've got one after you, I think, unless we read the same thing.
Maybe. From Mad Cave Studios?
No.
It's called The Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre #1.
Okay, I cannot believe I haven't heard of this.
By Fred Kennedy and James Edward Clark. Mike, I'm not kidding you. This is your cup of tea.
Okay.
Fred Kennedy wrote a lot of Dead Romans and the Savage Sword of Conan for Titan.
Yeah.
And like, I think a Speed Racer one-off or whatever. And so like, I'm very familiar with his writing. And I'm a big fan of it. But James Edward Clark did a lot of zines, like an absorbent amount of zines.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Called like Tales to Enlighten, MLF, Monstrosity. And you can tell in his style that he is like punk rock zine, just crazy out there storyteller. And it blossoms within the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. This is a highly polished zine you would get from a zine con. And
cool.
It's just a complete blast.
Yeah, this art looks really rad.
It revolves around like trying to stop the most potent drug being released ever, called Coke 45. And it's like just so silly and like provocative, and it's a commentary on our world without being like a downer. Does that make sense? Like it's satirical in a way that isn't too jokey, but it's also like not like a real bummer to read. So I would highly suggest checking out the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. Any review I can give you will not do this book justice, because it is, just like its name, an amalgamation of many amazing things.
Hell yeah, that rules. I will say, I think artists like this are going to become more and more and more in favor. And that is because there is a real grittiness and swing to his work. And the more AI stuff that we see, and the more the art world becomes this like homogenous, lazy mess.
Yeah.
Like where I think we're going to unfortunately see like a lot of AI production that feels all too perfect and may like sour some of the amazing original artists who have this style that is almost all too perfect, right? But we're going to want to see more humanity and more swing and more stylized stuff that doesn't feel generated. And this person's art just like screams individualism and hand-drawn and hand-touched, and feels really raw in a way that like really speaks to me.
Yeah, I that's kind of why I wanted to review it on the show today. Of just like, this is something that we have never seen before, but like feels very familiar, like from our childhood. It's just like, this is like those comic books that your mom didn't want you to read. This is like, kind of too tongue in cheek, and you're like, oh, was that and it's just like, it doesn't matter. We're just here for the ride. It is the closest thing to a Tank Girl comic that isn't Tank Girl in its absurdity.
Yeah.
And
right.
That is what sold me on it.
Hell yeah. All right. Awesome. I'm excited I'm going to have to make sure I pre-ordered that. The Savage cover. I think that's Marguerite Savage.
Oh, yeah,
I think I pre-ordered that cover. That might be a second printing, but that cover looks familiar. All right, that rules. Okay. All right, anything else on that one?
No, I mean, like I said, it's hard to tell anyone about a book that is just so many different things. Like, a smoothie with different kinds of delicious fruits and vegetables. You just got to try it for yourself and see if you like it.
Well, a fantastic week for independent comics, and a lot of cool new indies to support and try out if superheroes maybe aren't your speed. But we'll round things out with a very superhero-y conversation for our lifers who stuck around and are ingrained in Marvel and DC. I picked up Wolverine Weapons of Armageddon by Chip Zdarsky. And I did so because Chip is writing Avengers Armageddon, which is a event series that's going to happen later in the year. And we know, at least right now, that Chip's Captain America run, which I'm loving, by the way, and this Wolverine mini are going to somehow lead into this big Avengers event. I think it's technically more of like a mini series. Like the events of Avengers Armageddon might be contained to like 5 issues of that series, and there might be like a handful of tie-ins. It's not a huge, massive, sweeping line-wide thing, but Marvel has promised that there's going to be repercussions to this, right? Like in an article, they were like, there will be a Marvel universe before and a Marvel universe after that are a little different. So for me, as a big Marvel fan,
say reboot, but
no, but at least there might be like some characters' mantle changes or some character changes allegiances. There's going to be something that happens, and as a longtime publisher devotee, like I want to like I don't want to like open a comic one day and be like, wait, what? Like, why is Black Widow now like working for Hydra or something? You know what I mean? Like, I want to know the reason why something like that happened. And Marvel has been really good lately about when they say things like this are going to happen, sticking with it for like at least a year, so it doesn't feel like, oh, I got duped into being told like, oh, this character is going to die, and then they're dead for like 1 week and then back the next week. So I appreciate that, and it's got me invested in the series, and I love Chip Zdarsky, so we're going to see what Avengers Armageddon is all about and read some of the lead-in comic books in my household anyway. So
for me and my family.
So just FYI, I think it's tough to know too, like, even though you've been getting like Avengers Armageddon ads in all of our Marvel comics lately, you look at this on the new comic book stand and you're just like, why would I care about this weird Wolverine side story? Right. It's kind of maybe is going to be easy to miss that there's some of these event books that are leading up to like a bigger thing, and you might want to ultimately follow them. But in this issue, Wolverine teams up with a mutant who can track other mutants, who you're saying is probably Caliban. It's not. It's like a weaker
that was my first guess.
It's like a less powerful version of Caliban. So we're like kind of on the scent, and we can kind of track
Reacher?
These. So this is Jack Reacher's first appearance in the in the Marvel universe. Same with the. Never mind. I was gonna say it was the Liam Neeson character in Taken.
Oh, Taken.
All these people with a very particular set of skills are in this one comic book together. Okay, so this person is helping Wolverine try to track down and liberate a mutant who was being used in a Weapon X type super soldier program. So someone very similar to Wolverine, who has this like kind of healing factor wildness to them, and could potentially survive the kind of like experimentation and technology that they stuff into these people's bodies to make them super soldiers. But that person that they're trying to track down and save, by the time they find the facility they're being like kept at and experimented on, we find that they've already escaped or have been liberated, and there was a hyper powerful weapon that has been stolen in the mix, and that is kind of like the bigger like loss to this big evil organization that's trying to make super soldiers for financial gain. So will the mutant end up being, that's this like new mutant character, end up being like an important part of Avengers Armageddon? Maybe. Will this weapon end up being a crux of the story or something that is the impetus of Avengers Armageddon. I think that's maybe more likely that this serves to introduce this idea of some sort of like horrific new weapon that people are going to be fighting over.
Weapon is like an actual weapon or like a person with powers?
The weapon is a cube. It is a small device. So it's really left up to a mystery right now of what exactly it does.
It's in the eye of the beholder of what the cube.
But if you want power, you're gonna want that cube.
You're gonna want that cube, man.
You're gonna want that cube. Issue 1. Keep an eye out for it,
dude. I cannot wait for that Scotty Young cube variant.
Yeah, baby cube, Cuban diapers.
Well, cool.
But I liked it. It was a great. If you're an X-Men fan, it's a great read, and it feels like a revisiting of Logan's lore. And it's like, it's dark for him to revisit this place where he's having flashbacks to all these horrific things that he's been through. So you're getting like a little bit of a Wolverine origin retold in a not very heavy-handed way that is kind of just like abstract in the background and helping remind you of where Logan came from and why this particular mission is so meaningful to him, and the person that is helping track is somebody who's like betrayed mutants before and is now trying to redeem herself by helping Logan make this one right. So we've got some fun stuff mixing and heading towards a Marvel event. So for me, as a big Marvel stan, worth picking up, I think.
I am interested in this Armageddon situation that's going on at Marvel. It's, a lot of theories going around, and I'm just waiting to see what happens, like the rest of us.
Some of the promo images are interesting, and there is a character with a star on their chest with a cape who is flying. And we had done a hypothetical over on our Patreon that said that was like, what would make Captain America like different if he was a character who could fly? And you sometimes steal some of the essence of what makes that character an interesting boots on the ground character that has informed so much of how he feels about team and responsibility to people you're around. But we might be getting our what if scenario in a more of a real fashion, or someone might be creating a Captain America-esque super soldier who can fly and is a little more of a Superman type than Steve Rogers is. We don't know, but there's a lot of like these silhouettes that are like teases and nods to what might happen in this event book. So I'm excited to read it.
All will be revealed.
Chip never lets me down, so it should be good.
That should be a t-shirt. That should be a First Issue Club t-shirt.
Yeah.
Doing lines and taking lives, and then
Chip never lets me down. Trust. Yeah. That's it.
We did it. Nothing but comics this time.
Yep. Get to your comic shop, pick one. And, right? One of these had to sound good to you. Go buy comic books.
We talked about 6 of them. If you didn't like one of the 6, check your pulse.
Yep.
All right. See you next week, everyone.
Bye. First Issue Club podcast is brought to you by Boulevard Brewing Company, the people responsible for our favorite drinks, the Space Camper Cosmic IPA family of beers. Our show is edited and produced by our hosts Mike DeStacy, Greg Lichtag, and Andy Vargas. You can find us on social media at First Issue Club, and you can join the supporters who keep our humble podcast going on our Patreon at patreon.com/firstissueclub.